All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going deep into the Wren.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's this story, an excerpt actually, about a character Tobar and, you guessed it, a Wren.
Okay.
We've got two versions of this excerpt, plus a whole briefing doc breaking it all down.
Sounds like we've got our work cut out for us.
We do, but it's going to be good. We're going to uncover what this tiny bird is all about and the pretty profound life lessons it has to offer.
I'm intrigued.
Right. Think crash course in becoming what they call a conduit of blessing.
Okay, now you've got me hooked.
And we're going to tackle why embracing vulnerability might actually be like your superpower. What do you think about all that?
You know, it's amazing how these little creatures, like a wren, can hold such big ideas. It really shows you sometimes those powerful lessons come from the most unexpected places.
I totally agree. Okay, so picture this. Fillan Priory, autumn. We're in a garden, leaves crunching underfoot, trees are all bursting with color, but there's this stillness, like almost like the garden itself reflects how things are kind of, spiritually going downhill at Fillan.
I see.
And in this quiet, almost sad setting, Tobar, our main guy, he comes across a wren, tiny brown bird, almost disappears against the foliage.
Camouflaged.
Totally. But then it just fills the whole garden with its song.
That's a powerful contrast. The small bird, huge voice.
Right. And this isn't just any random bird sighting. There's this hooded figure, Alba, been waiting for Tobar, sees this wren, and it's like a teaching moment.
The sign.
Exactly. Now, Alba's all about Celtic traditions, where nature's full of meaning. Animals, especially the wren, they've got these deep symbolic meanings.
Makes sense.
So she explains the wren's all this energy, always busy, a real lesson in making the most of every moment.
Can't argue with that.
But she goes even deeper. She says that powerful song, that's like a symbol of how even someone who feels small, insignificant, they can still have a big impact.
We all need that reminder sometimes.
I was just thinking that, like, who hasn't felt like a little wren in a big world,
For sure. It's saying don't underestimate the power of the small things. Especially thinking about how Fillan's in decline. The wren's song could be like a glimmer of hope.
I like that, a spark of hope.
Yeah.
Alba also talks about how the wren's a free spirit, makes a home anywhere, like encouraging Tobar to be more adaptable, open to new things.
That's interesting.
But here's where things get really interesting. Alba connects how the wren, when it's scared, it freezes. And she compares that to how Tobar deals with his fears.
Okay.
Instead of saying, firefly, the usual stuff, she tells him to actually lean into being vulnerable, to not hide or protect himself so much.
Now that goes against our instincts, doesn't it?
Big time. It's like saying true strength comes from admitting what you're not good at, from letting yourself be vulnerable.
And that idea is tied into faith, right? Relying on something bigger than yourself.
Definitely. But it does make you wonder, what if Tobar doesn't want to be vulnerable? What if he's not sure he can handle his fear? Does that block him from getting that strength Alba's talking about?
That's a good point. Surrender isn't always easy. It takes time, a whole process of facing those fears and doubts. And that leads us to this idea of Tobar as a conduit of blessing. Alba brings that up too.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. Conduit of blessing. What does that even mean?
It's like saying Tobar has the potential to be a vessel for, well, divine action. Imagine a gardener taking care of plants. They give it water, sun, all the care. But the plant's the one that grows. The gardener's just a conduit, helping it flourish.
So it's less about what Tobar does and more about getting out of the way and letting something bigger work through him.
Exactly. Aligning himself with a higher purpose, you could say. Becoming an instrument for good.
But like you said earlier, what if Tobar's just not ready for that? If his fear, his doubt, is like a blockage, it makes you think, what's he supposed to be a conduit for? And how does that tie into that prayer for resurrection life later in the excerpt?
Sharp observation. Remember how the garden was almost lifeless? That prayer for resurrection life seems to be asking for a spiritual comeback, not just for individuals, but for the whole community.
So maybe Tobar is meant to be part of that renewal.
It's definitely hinted at. Meeting Alba, seeing the wren, maybe that's a turning point for him. Like he's waking up to what he could be, his role in this bigger story.
But like we said, it's not going to be easy. He's still got those internal struggles, fears, and all that holding him back.
Absolutely. Getting past those is key if he's going to really be a conduit for this resurrection life.
We've covered a lot. Symbolism, spirituality, fear, prayer even. But let's bring it back to us. Have you ever had to adapt to a new situation? Find your place in a new home, so to speak? What challenges did you face? How'd you make it work? Keep those thoughts in mind as we go on.
While you're mulling that over, think about this. If Tobar is this conduit, what exactly is he channeling? What could this resurrection life actually look like in the community? We'll keep exploring these questions as we dive deeper. It really makes you think, all the different meanings layered in here. Resurrection life could be like faith coming back to life, people being more, spiritually active.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's about fixing those old hurts, relationships that need mending in the community.
Thinking about resurrection life at Fillan Priory, I can't help but picture that desolate garden.
Mm.
What if this life is actually, like, literal?
Literal.
The garden becoming vibrant again, a symbol of how the community's spirit is renewed.
That's a powerful image. It's like the physical and the spiritual are all tied together.
Yeah.
That garden could be this huge symbol of change, mirroring the work happening inside the community and inside Tobar, too.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about this Pedro Illumini, the prayers for Fillan and Pedro?
Mm.
Who is this person? Where do they fit in?
That's a big mystery in this excerpt. It's almost like Pedro isn't just one person,
Oh, I see.
more like a concept, an ideal, or maybe even a part of the community that's hurting and needs healing.
Mm.
The fact that they're praying for resurrection life for both of them, Pedro and Fillan, it's like they're deeply connected, both needing that renewal.
So what if Pedro Illumini is Fillan?
What do you mean?
Not literally, symbolically. Like, Pedro represents what Fillan truly is deep down, what it was and could be again.
Oh, interesting.
And the prayer is for that essence to be restored, for Fillan's true spirit to come back.
That's a fascinating take. Adds a whole other layer to the prayer and Tobar's potential role.
Mm.
What if he's not just a conduit for some general blessing, but specifically for healing and restoring Pedro Illumini?
Yeah.
And through that, the whole Fillan community.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to Tobar and his struggles, right?
Right.
Alba warned him about fear paralyzing him.
Yeah.
It's like he needs to overcome that fear to really step into his role, whatever that might be.
Exactly. We all have those things inside us, obstacles. We got to face them if we want to truly live.
Yeah.
What about you? What strikes you about this idea of limitations we put on ourselves?
We all have those moments. Fear holds us back. We doubt ourselves, worry about what others think. Like, we build these walls and then wonder why we feel trapped.
It's so easy to let fear run the show, isn't it?
Mm.
But Alba telling Tobar to lean into vulnerability, that's different.
It is.
It is.
It's like we're taught that vulnerability is weakness.
Right.
But what if it's actually how we unlock our real strength, like being able to connect with others, make a real difference in the world?
It's recognizing that what we see as weaknesses can be strengths. Having the guts to be ourselves, flaws and all.
It makes you think we hide so much of ourselves.
We do.
Afraid to let people see the real us. What if, like Tobar, our potential is unleashed when we embrace it all? Even the parts we want to keep hidden.
That's a beautiful thought. Letting go of needing to be perfect and embracing the messiness, the imperfect beauty of being human.
It's true. Yeah.
And it makes me think we can be conduits for each other.
How so?
Offering support, encouragement, helping each other face those fears and doubts that keep us small.
The power of community, right? We don't have to go it alone. We can lean on each other, listen, offer a shoulder to cry on, maybe give a little nudge when someone needs it.
Sometimes it's just being there for each other, holding space for those tough emotions without judgment, not trying to fix everything.
Exactly. Creating a safe space where vulnerability is okay, even celebrated, where we can be ourselves, no fear of being rejected.
So we're talking vulnerability, strength, community. Let's bring it back to the Wren for a second. What other interpretations of its symbolism haven't we touched on?
Well, there's this connection to the cycles of life and death and rebirth. Some Celtic traditions link the Wren to the winter solstice,
Oh, right.
a time of darkness, things being dormant, before the light comes back and everything starts anew.
So even though the Wren seems tiny and insignificant, it symbolizes resilience, being able to make it through tough times and come out stronger. Exactly. A reminder that even when things are darkest, there's always the possibility for renewal, transformation, resurrection.
And that brings us back to Tobar's journey. Feels like he's on the edge of a major change, a resurrection of his own.
It's like he's at a crossroads, a
Yo.
choice to make. Will fear stop him in his tracks? Or will he embrace vulnerability and step into his role, become that conduit for healing and renewal?
It's a question we can all ask ourselves. What fears are holding us back? What potential's inside us, waiting to be awakened?
And how can we help each other on this journey? Overcoming fear, embracing vulnerability, becoming those conduits for positive change.
Big questions,
They are.
but important ones.
Definitely.
As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to encourage everyone listening to keep exploring these themes. Think about when you faced your fears, let yourself be vulnerable, saw the power of community. What did those experiences teach you?
And as you think back on those times, consider this. What would it look like for you to be a conduit of blessing in your own life and in your community? What gifts and talents do you have that you could share with others?